Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of You Can Too Mechanical. Today we pulled a motor out of a 05 Ford 3/4 ton with a 5.4 gas engine in it. It has cracked manifolds. As you can see, we've got a few projects on the go here, but this thing has cracked manifolds. We're getting it ready to sell it, and we tried pulling the manifolds off in the truck. There was a couple broken studs, and the first one we put a wrench on broke off, so we decided to get the motor out and go at getting the studs out, where it's a lot easier, and we'll let you know how this works out here. You can see a crack in this one here. They're both cracked actually, but we'll show you a few methods for removing some studs. Hopefully welding a nut and washer on works, but we'll see. We got a couple tricks up our sleeve for this one, so follow along and we'll see how this goes. Another benefit of taking the engine out to remove these studs or nuts or whatever wants to come when you start taking them off is using an impact. Put a wrench on one in the truck and broke it off right away. Put the impact on the rest and no more broke. So we've got one there, one broken off inside there and there, and on the other side just one. We get pretty lucky there. So we're gonna remove 4 studs, and I'll show you guys a little tool that I made for this, especially for those ones that are broke off deep inside. Remove the rest of the studs that weren't broke on this side. Installed a new one there temporarily. When we go to install these permanently, we will definitely be putting some anti-seize on them to prevent this from happening again. This is the tool I was telling you about. So I just had this made up at a little machine shop. Basically, I might have to move that stud, but basically the idea behind this is you bolt this in a location that will allow you to center over top of that stud, and then use that to drill out the center of the stud. And there's different inserts that I have made to fit in there to fit the bits. This will just pull out, and you put in the right insert, and that keeps the drilling nice and straight. So we'll give this a shot, see how it goes. You guys got the first one drilled there, and nice and centered. We just took a Torx bit that fits a 3/8 ratchet, stuck it in there, tap it in, and as you can see, you can just spin that thing out, no trouble at all. So this method works pretty good. I prefer to weld to them if they're sticking out, but as you can see, all of them that broke off inside. So that's a little bit harder to get in there and weld a knob onto the end of that stud without wrecking the threads in the head. So this is working so far. We'll continue this method. When you're drilling these things, make sure you drill right through the stud. That way when you go to remove the stud off of your Torx bit, you can just stick that stud in the vise and use a small punch to tap it out there. It makes it a lot easier and less damage to your Torx bit. 3 came out, no trouble at all. Actually, when I was drilling them, they're loose enough in there that they spun in all the way, but still drilled through them and put the tool in. Make sure you put some anti-seize on these guys when you put them back in, and we're gonna tap in the holes to make sure that there's no burrs or nothing in there, and everything will go together so much easier when you do that. Also, make sure you plug these holes up with a rag or some paper towel. You don't want any metal filings getting in there when you're drilling. You just never know if the valve happens to be open and go right into your cylinder. So you guys can get a better look at how this tool works. I've got this cylinder head off of a 400 out of my 78 Bronco. We had one broken stud in there and it's drilled out. I haven't tapped it yet, but basically this is the idea. That sits directly over the hole. Use one of the other existing holes to bolt it down, tighten that up, and run a drill bit nice and straight in there, and it really works good. Like I said, I've got different size adapters for these guys, and you can get whatever you want made, and that just slides out, and it's kind of a neat little tool. Works really well. Well, we've got 8 new studs installed with some anti-seize on them. We'll open up the manifold boxes here and get the new manifolds out. New manifolds come with studs for the downpipe and the gaskets. It's unfortunate they don't come with the studs. They cost an extra $70, but money well spent. Just so you guys know, take notice of the gaskets. They have a flat side on the bottom, rounded on the top. Make sure they go on the right way. And the manifolds are the same. So flat side is on the bottom. And we'll look up the torque spec, get these nuts put on, and that part's ready to go. The other thing we're going to have to do on this old girl is, see, it's got a leaking rear seal, so another reason I'm glad we pulled the motor out. This is literally taking me, half an hour to get those broken studs out. If you were trying to do that in the truck, it would take you hours and hours, and so just sometimes it's really worth it to spend the extra few hours to pull the motor out, and you might see some other little problems like we've come across here and have the opportunity to fix that up as well. Next interesting thing, just getting one of the studs out on the other side that still had the tip on it for the 5mm socket, and that tip snapped off in the socket. So one thing I will do on this, and works really good, is take a hammer and just beat that in nice and straight, and that'll loosen up the stud enough, and you just put a stud puller or a set of vice grips on that and turn it out, and then we'll get this last broken one done here. So we gave that a good wrap with a hammer, stuck the vice grip on there, and just like that it turns. That vibration makes a huge difference, sort of like putting an impact on it and giving it that shock that it needs to get it to come loose. Okay guys, there it is. All 4 studs out in less than an hour. And that just goes to show you that the time I would have spent fighting in there and the time it took me to pull the motor, it paid off in my books to pull that thing out, be able to drill nice and straight, not ruin the head at all, and get the new manifolds installed and everything when it's just so accessible. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember, if I can do this, you can too.